For this step, we're going to be doing what's called twining. You are going to need 2 pieces of string that are about 10 inches long. It doesn't matter what color these 2 pieces are, this string won't be seen at the end. We'll be taking it off of your frame when we do the final finishing touches of your weaving. You will also need 1 piece of yarn that is twice the width of your frame. This yarn, you will want to choose a color that you wouldn't mind being seen on your finished weaving. It's possible that it will get covered, but for now we want to always plan that it might be seen for this step. I want you to pause the video, and when you come back, I'll give you the demo on how to properly twine the bottom of your frame. Okay, now that we're back, we're going to talk about twining. Twining is done for 2 reasons. One reason is that it will create a line of knots at the bottom of your frame. And the second reason is that it will also make all of your warp strings lay flat on the same plane. Right now, if we look at this frame from the side, what you'll see is strings that kind of hang towards the back and strings that hang towards the front of the frame. So we want to sandwich them together so that they're all flat and level. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is take one of your 10-inch pieces, and I'm going to loop it around the last string on your frame, and I'm going to bring it out around the outside of this frame, and I'm going to tie a square knot. Remember, a square knot is the knot that we used on our wallets. It's just the same step you would do for starting your shoelaces, but just doing that twice. I'm gonna pull that nice and tight. Notice that that string is pulling a little bit here on your last warp string. What I want this to be doing is providing tension right here so that if this string were to get pulled from side to side when we're weaving, it doesn't pull this string heavily into the area where you're weaving. It maintains this 1-inch spacing on the side. If you haven't spaced out your warp strings yet so that you have about 1 inch of space on either side of your frame at the bottom and at the top, so full spacing here on the sides, please do that before you start this process. This space is really important because this is where we'll be passing all of our yarn, and our hands will be doing a lot of movement through here, so you want to have enough space in here to actually do what you need to do. So now that I have this left side tied off with the short string, I'm actually going to take my long string next, my one that's twice the width of the frame, and I'm going to start on my first warp string. I'm going to pass this string over that first warp string, and I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to make a little space and open it up here, and I'm going to take your second side string, your second 10-inch string, and I'm going to also wrap it around this first warp string. But I'm going to make sure that it passes through the twining string as well, the white string, so that the two are interlocked like this. They're creating this kind of a shape. Now I'm going to tie this red string off the exact same way that I tied the other one, with a square knot, and so that it provides tension on the side. Okay, so now we're ready to twine. When we twine, we're going to be always working from left to right. And I'm going to take my 2 twining strings and I'm going to separate them, keeping them even, and I'm going to lay them down on my frame like this. I'm going to scoot this up a little so you can hopefully see the strings a little better. So now I have a left string and I have a right string, and they're both going around the first warp. I'm going to look at the rest of my warp strings, and what I want to see is what string is next in line. So if I follow this one up and around, this low string is my second string. This high string is my third string. This low string is my fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. So one thing I will do is I'll go through my warp and I will often just tip my strings a little bit, just twisting them like this, to help me see a little bit better the order of my strings, which one is in front of the next one. You don't have to do this step, but I do think it's helpful. It makes it a little bit easier to see the exact order and spacing. Now that we've done that, we have the first string and we have these two strings. So now I said we're always working from left to right. So this is my left string and it's going to go under my second string in line from left to right. When I pass this string under, I'm not going to leave it up here. I'm not going to swing it back and cross it over my other string. I'm going to make sure that I bring it back and create a space between that last string so they don't crisscross, and just set it down like this. And then I'm going to pick this one up because this is now the back string. It's going to go up and under the next string in line. And it'll do the same thing, come down and lay flat. And I'm just going to repeat this over and over. The first few times that I do this, go up, under, down, up, under, down. So the first few times that I do this, it's going to stay loose, and I'm going to tighten it in just a minute. I do want to emphasize that I am going up because it's crossing the two white strings when I go up, and then down, up, under, down, up, under, down. Now that I've gone a few inches, I can pull these tight. So I'm going to put the two ends together and I'm going to pull this way. This is going to hold my string from getting pulled too far, and you'll notice that it's evenly spacing and there's a little twist here. So I'm going to bring this a little closer to the frame so you can see what's happening here. See how it flattens out those warp strings and brings them in on the same plane? They're no longer sticking out in front of the other, they're laying flat. So that's the point of this stitch. So I'm going to lay these back down and I'm going to finish tying the twining on this frame. If at this point you feel like you understand it, you're welcome to pause the video. Before you do that, we want to make sure that you know how to do the end here. So once you finish twining the entire way through, you'll tie a square knot right on the end and you'll push it down so that the strings are starting about this high from the frame rather than up here. It is easier to do this step if you give yourself a little space to begin with though, which is why I started several inches from the top. Okay, so to pick back up here, I want to make sure that I'm spacing these out properly. So this is my back string, up, under, down. It is important that you're doing one string and then going back to the other string rather than doing one of them the whole way through and coming back with the second one. Alternating from one to another helps keep the pattern going. So again, I've gone a few inches, so I'm going to put my strings together, pull tight, lay it flat, back up, under, down, up, under, down. Tight. Okay, and at the end, so I'm going to put my two strings together, pull them tight, tie a square knot at the end. These strings will get clipped later. I'm going to leave them there for now. I'm going to take these and slide them all down close to the bottom of the frame. And I'll realign the spacing. And again, you can see how that's just flattened out the full warp. Everything is in a plane together. Your tension is still nice and tight. I might want to take a little time to even things out spacing wise, but we have a full twist that goes around every single individual string. That's it.